chapter 18, verse 3 through 6. And said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that we were drowned in the depths of the sea. Hallelujah, y'all. Okay, so I chose this today. I was going to speak to David, but I know you guys are tired of me talking about David. I talk about David a lot, and it just wasn't coming together. But this particular verse is powerful. It's profound because it speaks to a number of different things. It seems very simple. It seems like we're talking about children, but we're talking about aspects to ourselves. Yes. We're talking about the most innocent aspect of who we are. Friends, I'm here to tell you that it is the walks that we have in life that add layers upon layers upon layers upon layers to this intricate little power-packed aspect that resides in the center. We add all of these layers atop of the most purest aspect of us, that childlike aspect, because we want to protect it. Yes. When we're children, we don't do that unless we are experiencing a lot of trauma, a lot of chaos, and a lot of negativity. But in our normal, nurtured state, in the way that God created us to be, in a loving stasis, in a loving family setting, we don't go about life as children looking to protect him or her. It's when we go out into the world, whether middle school, high school, college, the work environment, we begin to add these layers on top. Whether it's you're a teenager and your parents say, okay, you've got to start acting like a young adult. You're a little too immature. You've got to start acting like a young adult. I struggle with that tremendously because I was the goofy kid. Like, I wanted to play. I found everything funny. I found humor in things. I was silly. I didn't care about me looking silly. I liked it. I'm still the same way till today. I'm grown. I'm in my 50s, but I'm silly. I enjoy that. That's who I am. But I can recall times when I was younger, my parents and siblings and uncles and aunties would tell me I needed to be somebody else. I needed to be able to compete. And I had to put on my big girl uniform, which was a layer that I put on top of who I truly was. And I would put it on, and then I would go out into the world with my big girl uniform on, and I would experience big girl stuff that scared me and confused me, and I didn't know how to deal with those situations or in those environments. And the experiences that I had in those environments added another layer on top of that little person, because there were monsters out there, real monsters in people, in the form of people, and how they behaved amongst one another. I didn't know anything about it. And I wanted to go out and experience stuff, but I needed to protect her. She's not for this. So I would put on all these layers. And I know many of you do the same thing. Many young men do the same thing in going out and being a man. We put on all these layers. Yet the Bible is saying, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. What makes little children so significant? Well, it would take me years to see this. I would go through many trials and tribulations and many paths of life, experiencing situations and people and all different types of seasons of life. And sometimes I would be booed up in my seasons and I'd have a significant other. But most times I'd be by myself and I would experience life. Moving through life, going in and out of situations and not healing myself and still having to constantly be on the treadmill of life. Even though I'm injured, I'm still having to get through. And I'm having to mask my energy, I'm having to mask my injury so that nobody knows that I'm injured in that place, lest they come and they hit me on my wound, making my injury even more pronounced, showing my weakness. And I would get to all of these places, and in the process of all of this stuff, I would go home in my silent time when I was by myself. She would show herself at different intervals. And even in times when my life got so chaotic, or when let's just say ours, because I don't want to put the spotlight on me, but when our lives become so chaotic, we don't have enough downtime to let her show. So we apply all of these layers on top of him or her until before we know it, we don't even know where she's at. We don't even know how to tap into him. We haven't had a conversation with him or her in years because we've been so enthralled in the highs and the lows of living amongst all the layers. Nobody knows him or her. They only know the layers. Yet we find that we will get to certain junctions in life where him and her must show themselves. These aspects of self, these childlike aspects that God is speaking to, that Jesus is speaking to in this parable, are the truest aspects of us. The aspects that we will even forget because of all that we pile on top of it. All of the layers of projections, all of the new aspects of ourselves that we saw in other people that we've now taken pieces of and projected as our own along the way. We've gotten so enamored in that we forget who really is running the show. It is this little childlike person that is within all of us, that everything piled on top of that person is terminating on. Yeah. It's like putting on many different coats. But without the body, there would be no coat. There would be nothing to put the coat on. It's this childlike aspect, that little bitty light, that is the driving force of this avatar that we call our projection, our body. And in this parable, Jesus is saying, lest you come to terms with that, lest you can tap back into that, whether you hang on to that all throughout your life conscientiously, or you remember him or her and you reintroduce yourself to yourself at certain junctions in your life and you stay there, you will not be able to enter within the kingdom of heaven. That is so profound. Because why would he say that? Friends, I have come to learn that it is this little person, that person I have been all along, that I piled all these projections on, all these attitudes on, all this style on, all these different looks and theories and all these different ways upon. That little bitty original me was the most powerful form of me that I am. It is the most powerful aspect of who I am. All of the projections that I added on top of me just allowed me access within different earthly environments. They were like access passes that you need to get in certain doors in this earthly realm. But it's that aspect within me, that pure energy in me, that child in me, that is the power. Why? Because it is the most unfiltered, unadulterated, purest aspect of my power. There's no ego in him or her. There's no expectation. That person is filled with wonder and fascination. That person wouldn't hurt an ant. That person is, if offended, surely will pick up her toys and go to another playground and play freely with other kids, and then go back to that same playground like nothing ever happened. It's forgiving. It takes no note to offense. That person, when that childish aspect, is that person that sees beyond the projection. It gets to the core of the problem quickly because it sees the heart. And this is the aspect that Jesus is saying we all must be able to tap into, lest we will not ever see the kingdom of heaven. And when an adult can tap into that aspect of themselves, that aspect is the lightest, the most delicate aspect of who we are. It allows us to fly high into places that the dense aspect that has all the layers of the projection and the philosophies and all of these types of things can never go. So I'll read it again. Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Why is he saying converted? Well, because at the time when Jesus was coming forward, all of these people were living in a capitalistic society. Everybody was living a projection. These people had gotten so far away from the fundamental truths of who they were and who God is, that they had forsaken that truest essence of themselves to hurry and become. Because that's what we do. When we're young, we can't wait to grow up and be this and that. We're always forecasting out our tomorrows. I want to be a big boy. I want to be a big girl. I want to be a teenager. I want to be that. I want to be this. I want to be an adult. It's just always this want to kind of scenario. And after you acquire so much of your wants, you get to a place where you find that that's nothing. I don't want this anymore. You can only get so many possessions before there's no more fun in it. What fun is it? And uncovering that inner you becomes more appealing. Because now you're at the end of a thing. You've experienced, even if you haven't experienced vast wealth, but what levels of wealth you have experienced have shown you that this is not, happiness is not in the accumulation of things. What really makes me happy is my wonder and my fascination, my perspective, my covering, my ability to soar mentally into places and to expand my mind. So I'm constantly on a journey. I'm constantly fascinated about something. I get to no end of my fascinations, and I'm worthy of my fascinations because I don't have all the layers of the projection over me, boggling me down and weighing me down. Verse 4, whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Humility, not weakness, but humility is the most powerful trait you can have. Being able to say, I don't know. I understand certain things, but there's so much more that I don't know. I love to hear what you have to say. To be able to recognize that I was born with nothing and I will leave with nothing. And everything I do in between has to do with my experiences and the richness of them. My experiences in the form of me interacting with you on a level that enriches you. Not materialistically, but soulfully, spiritually. And for you to get to a place where you have these experiences as well. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. When God created Adam and Eve, when God created Adam, he created Adam in the image of himself. This word image, in the likeness. What does that mean exactly? Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is in the image of his Father. When we go and we move in the image of Jesus, and when we act in the likeness of Jesus, what are we doing? Are we looking like Jesus? What did Jesus look like? What we're doing is we are inheriting the philosophy, the mindset of God. When not just because Jesus is the Son of God, but it all piggybacks, one thing piggybacks on the other. When God created Adam, he created Adam in his image and in his likeness. That means all Adam's attributes are in alignment to what God's attributes are. Adam acts as God would act in his created state, in the state that he was created. When Jesus comes forth in the name of his Father and in the likeness of his Father, he is acting as God would act. There's no discrepancy. There's no division in that. When Jesus multiplies himself amongst his disciples are acting as Jesus would act. Mentally and through their actions, because all has to be aligned with one another. It all lines up. So when Jesus says, whoso shall receive one such little child in my name, receiveth me. Commonality. When you receive a child, as I have just explained to you, the innocence, in order to receive it, your light, your inner child, needs to be able to connect and see that inner child in that other person as well. It is the unfolding of the truest aspect of one another that allows one to be able to receive such. lest you would not, your avatar and all of its layers that you've put on top of it would not be able to connect. What he is saying in the scripture is that we all must go about life this way. Why? Because the opponent's tactics have no power amongst these types of individuals. The purest aspect, that childlike aspect of you, as I said earlier, is the most powerful aspect of you. You coming around like macho girl and talking all this stuff, and you're going to do all this kind of stuff, and you coming around as macho guy, and you're going to wield your power and do all this stuff, that is no power. That childlike aspect, that purest aspect of a person, when approached by all of that worldly stuff that you're trying to inflict, will humble you. It will render you powerless, friend. It's a superpower. And if you approach it and look to harm it, you harm yourselves in ways that you cannot redeem yourself from. I'll read it. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. There's no redemptive aspect from it. The purest aspect of you is the childlike aspect that is hidden deep within you. That same aspect that by default you set up layers to protect because you knew without knowing how precious it was. You knew. And you had to go on a journey in life through all the hills and valleys and put on all kinds of layers to protect it, just so you can get the experience and the knowledge of what life is like. And then you get to a certain point in your life where you realize what life is like. You realize what matters and what doesn't. And now you are able to sit in your house of cedar or wherever you're sitting, like David, and you look back and you say, wow, I can connect the dots here. I know what really matters. And you remember that little aspect of you, and you begin to peel back the layers. And you bring that forward. And if you're healed properly, you will lead with that aspect. And that aspect, you will find, makes the demons flee. They can't stand the power of that. It makes them feel something. That tiny aspect of you, that purest aspect, coupled with the knowledge you've gained, makes your presence felt in this world, friend. You stand in the totality of who you were ordained to be. Because now you're working with real power. Raw, unfiltered power. Power that is angelic in a sense. That childlike aspect is an angelic power. Yet when you capture it as a child, it's angelic still, absolutely. But it's not as formidable. That's why the layers are so necessary to come upon it. It's necessary to protect it as you walk through your life. You get to a certain aspect, a certain space in life where you've accomplished things, not worldly things, but you have experience behind you. You have knowledge of life. You have knowledge of God. You know your environment. You are wise enough to be the protector of it. You don't need the layers. You are the layer now. The layers you can peel off. You're wise enough to know that they're there, and you can peel them off, and you can acknowledge that aspect of yourself and openly project it and protect it by way of what you've uncovered of you and of this world we are in. So when aligned properly in life to God and having established a relationship with that childlike essence that we all have in life, we all have it. Many people will say, you're too childish and you're this and that. Well, you need to probably realign with your child, your inner child. That might be your problem. You might need that. Because I'm here to tell you that inner child is the most powerful aspect that you have. It makes the demons flee. It gives you supernatural protection. And when aligned properly to God, with all that you have observed throughout your life, your life university graduate that you are, now realigning with that inner child and able to handle the purest aspect of yourself, allows you to go places in spirit many people can't go, friend. It is your access pass, that inner child. And that is what Jesus is speaking to. It allows you access to certain kingdoms, spiritual kingdoms, that you normally would not gain access to otherwise. This is my Bible study for you today, short and sweet. Wanted to just put this on your spirit because I find it useful, very useful. Being like children, super useful. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.